Hello everyone, RBY Overused Guide, day number 7. This is the end game. A part of the game that is becoming more and more complex as the evolution of the game is causing different endgames, different scenarios. We see different threats, different strategies. The game is not about sweeping with Tauros anymore. Back then we used to keep it fresh. Nowadays it's different, but there are certain principles that are still very important, and Tauros is still the top threat. So let's start with some general principles. Sleep and sleep fodder, numerical advantage and explosion, know the matchups, PP count, look out for agility and rest. So the first thing is sleep. In the end game, damage becomes inevitable. You need to stop your opponent's threats, or you just have to sacrifice something. Sacrificing the sleep fodder is okay if your opponent doesn't have their sleepers anymore, or at least if you have a status absorber. On the flip side, you want to keep your sleepers around as long as possible. Executor can stop threats, then explode, and even though it's rare, it can close the game too. This leads to point number 2. Numerical advantage, which is very important because it often enables safe explosions. If your opponent is left with no frozen, slapped or crippled Pokemon, they are going to lose something, and even more importantly, they will be left with limited options after you explode. There are teams with multiple explosion users, so potentially leaving your opponent with just a couple Pokemon means that they won't be able to stop either one of your special or physical attacks. Then, know the matchups. This looks obvious, but it's not. One thing is to know the 1 vs 1 matchup chart when you're sitting in your living room, but a 4 vs 4 with status, movesets, PP count, in the heat of the battle, that's different. There is a timer, there is an opponent that is going to realize your thinking, so you need to figure out every possible future scenario very quickly. If every scenario is okay with you, you can proceed. If not, it's up to you whether you want to commit or not to using explosion. Take risks when necessary, especially if you realize your opponent will be dangerous before you can. You need to know when to resort to your Tauros for beating Reflex Snorlax before it becomes too dangerous, and this comes from the experience, but not only your experience. So if you want to get better, just grab a piece of paper, a pencil and some replays by other players. Stop replays in crucial moments, key turns, make your play and compare it with what actually happened. So you compare your play with the other guys, discuss it or reproduce those scenarios with your friends or sparring partners. Knowing your matchups also means that you need to have full knowledge of the PP count, so you can realize whether you have to take the plunge or if you can just sit behind your Chansey waiting for your opponent to make the first move. Even more, you need to be familiar with PP stalling, wrap and clamp. If you can, that's okay. Otherwise, don't do that. Don't start doing it. Just fish for the miss. Just like we said before, the end game is a game of sacrifices. And your opponent knows that. So when you make a sacrifice, you have to keep in mind that your opponent can predict that and take advantage, like making a switch to a rest or soft-boiled user and heal up, or switch to an agility user. They can use substitute. They can switch to their own sleep fodder, try to wake up. So when you're trying to close a game, you don't want to allow these things. If you're sacrificing something that cannot fight back, like a frozen or slapped team member, be careful. That being said, let's take a look at the most common sweeps. Obviously, sweeping is all about setups. You're not going to sweep against a fresh team. You want to bring the game to a point where you know how to win and your moves are automatic, straight off memory. So you need to know certain sequences like the back of your hand. Here we have the classic Rhydon Tauros endgame. The Rhydon Tauros sweep is based on the fact that Rhydon cannot be Thunder Waved and not even frozen. So all you need to do is to connect with Hyper Beam. Tauros is the best endgame sweeper and the secret to it is Hyper Beam. Whenever everything is in Hyper Beam range, you're very likely to win the game. Hyper Beam has 90% accuracy and if it connects every time, game is over. Sometimes you're going to have to guess correctly with Hyper Beam. There are times where you can play around this and wait for something else to happen, and there are times where you just have to commit. You make a decision and it's do or die, like in this case. Then Reflect Snorlax. It can win games if your opponent is left without sleepers or special attackers and they don't have Reflect Snorlax anymore. Only way to beat Snorlax for them is with a critical hit. So if your opponent doesn't get it, Snorlax is going to slowly eat everything. Talking about normal types, Chansey can win games too, especially paralyzed Beam Bolt Chansey. You need to remove Tauros and Snorlax. After that, you have to protect Chansey from explosions, PP stall or just take out Alakazam. This way, you're fishing for a freeze on your opponent's Chansey and you're dealing permanent damage to the rest, including Rhydon. If your opponent's Chansey is paralyzed, just attack it, and if you cannot, there is a PP stall war. So this means you have to use your physical attackers carefully, because Chansey can become a win condition in case you lose them. Reflect Chansey can sweep in case your opponent doesn't have rest or recovery users anymore. Starmie is arguably the most dangerous special attacker. After recovery users are gone, Jolteon, Zapdos, Self-Destruct and Exeggutor are the next tools for stopping it. Other than that, it's very difficult to take it out. Starmie wins many 1 vs 1 matchups and it feasts on physical attackers. Rhydon sweeps take place when Exeggutor and Tauros are gone, assuming Tauros has Blizzard. You need to get it out of the way. Blizzard or recovery users have to be knocked out or at least paralyzed. Snorlax can stop Rhydon too, especially if it's Reflect Earthquake or Ice Beam. Rhydon can attempt the sweep in case Snorlax is Monolax. Rhydon is powerful enough to take down things in 2 hits, if not just 1, so it's somewhat of a late game cleaner. It can take advantage of Zapdos or even Seismicross Chansey to set up with Substitute. Even though not quite as reliable as Tauros against Chansey and Alakazam, Zapdos is the best endgame Pokemon when unchecked, simply because it can override Thunder Wave in 1 click. So setup is, you want to remove Rhydon, Jolteon, Self-Destruct Snorlax and Zapdos. You cripple Chansey and Alakazam a little bit, and possibly Tauros. At that point, Zapdos is ready. Articuno learns agility as well, but you need CLOYSTER and recovery users to be out of the way. If Articuno uses agility on a free turn, it will flip the matchup against Zapdos, even though it's going to have to move through paralysis. Amnesia sweeps are possible. Slowbro immediately comes to mind, but Snorlax is possible too. You want to remove explosion users. Amnesialax doesn't want to face physical attackers or CLOYSTER, and it can be stopped by Starmie as well. Unstatus Chansey can slow it down. They both hate paralysis. Slowbro doesn't want to play against Zapdos, Thunderbolt Starmie and Thunderbolt Tauros. CLOYSTER's Clamp is annoying, and Rhydon can use Substitute if Slowbro is paralyzed. Dragonite can sweep thanks to Agility Wrap. You need to remove Gengar first. and you need to be in a position where your opponent cannot PP stall. Anyway, Dragonite is luck based, it needs to avoid misses, even Reflex Snorlax can be an obstacle. Gengar, Jynx, Jolteon and Alakazam are similar to their counterparts, Exeggutor, Zapdos and Starmie respectively, but they have more strict requirements. Anything can sweep, but sweeping with these four, you don't see that often. So it's undeniable that there are better and worse win conditions. Tauros, unchecked Zapdos, Starmie, unthreatened Chansey or Snorlax are the most oppressive. Sometimes it's just a team effort like boom spam. There are scenarios you're trying to avoid defensively, but if these things happen, you need to figure out what your opponent is trying to do and play for your best odds. Try to make some predictions if possible, and it all starts with knowing what the player in the driver's seat is supposed to be doing. The player in the driver's seat is often trying to play safe, giving away some odds in exchange for safety. So yeah, just like before, watch replays from other players, try to figure your path and compare it with what the other player is doing, discuss it. You don't need to play a full game to improve your endgames. So that's all for now. We'll go through layers and team building in the next videos. Thanks for watching and see you soon.